You've been running your business for 15 years, maybe 20. You built it from nothing. A truck, a license, and a willingness to show up when nobody else would. Now you've got a fleet, you've got a crew, dispatch system, recurring maintenance contracts, a name people in your market know and trust. And then, one afternoon, your phone rings. Someone you've never heard of, private equity firm. They want to talk about a potential partnership. They've heard good things about your company. They think there could be a lot of value to unlock together. What they mean is, they want to buy your business. This call is happening to HVAC contractors, plumbing companies, and electrical operations all across the country right now. And most owners who get that call have no idea what they're walking into. Private equity has been quietly acquiring trade companies at an unprecedented pace. The valuations being thrown around are real, and in some cases, genuinely life-changing. What you give up and what you're agreeing to is something a lot of sellers only fully understand after the fact. Today, we're going to break down everything, what private equity is looking for, how they value trade businesses, what happens after you sell, and what your alternatives actually are. Whether you take that call or not, you deserve to know what's on the table. Quick introduction for anyone new here. My name is Nick Dowgul. I'm the owner of North State Law in Raleigh, North Carolina. My firm represents licensed professionals throughout the state. That's HVAC contractors, plumbers, electricians, general contractors, just to name a few professions. Sometimes people run into issues with their professional licensing entity. I'm covering this topic because the private equity consolidation wave hitting the trades is one of the most significant business developments in the industry right now. And it has direct implications for licensed contractors that most people aren't talking about. When you sell your business to private equity, your license doesn't just disappear. It actually stays with you. It's your license. And depending on how the deal is structured, that license and your ongoing responsibility for what happens underneath it can follow you in ways that create real legal exposure long after the check clears. So let's talk about all of it. The opportunity, the risks, and how to think through this decision clearly. Let's start with the basic question. Why is this happening now? Private equity firms are financial buyers. They raise money from institutional investors, pension funds, endowments, insurance companies, pull it into a fund and go looking for businesses to buy, improve, and eventually sell at a higher price. Their whole model depends on finding fragmented industries where they can buy multiple smaller players, roll them into larger platforms, cut redundant costs, grow revenue, and sell the combined entity to a larger buyer, or take it public at a multiple of what they paid for it. The trades are almost a perfect target for this model. Here's why. HVAC, plumbing, and electrical service companies are local by nature. Most are pretty small, owner-operated, maybe $1 to $3 million in annual revenue, sometimes more. They're intensely fragmented. There are hundreds of thousands of small trade shops all across the country, none of which have anywhere near the market share needed to dominate even a single metro area. And they have something private equity loves above almost anything else: recurring revenue. A residential HVAC company with 800 maintenance contract customers generates a predictable base of revenue that shows up every year, regardless of new construction activity. A plumbing company with commercial service agreements for property management companies has built-in recurring income. These are not project-based feast or famine businesses. They're more like subscription businesses. And subscription businesses carry premium valuations. On top of that, the macroeconomic picture is pointing in one direction. The 2026 AGC survey shows data centers as the single most optimistic construction segment, 57% net positive. Power infrastructure is second at 34%. Healthcare facilities third. These are the sectors driving demand for HVAC and mechanical contractors specifically. Private equity firms see the demand tailwind clearly, and they want exposure to it. The consolidation has been aggressive. In 2025 alone, private equity platforms specifically targeted companies offering combined mechanical, HVAC, and plumbing capabilities, what the industry calls, quote, full scope mechanical, because those businesses serve more of the value chain and have higher switching costs with customers. The wave is real. The question is whether it's right for you. When a private equity firm looks at a trade company, they're running a checklist. Understanding what's on that checklist tells you exactly what makes your business worth more or less, and how to position it if you ever want to pursue a sale. Revenue quality. Recurring maintenance contracts, service agreements, and commercial property management relationships are gold. One-time new installations from homeowners are less valuable because they're not predictable. A business that is 40 to 50% recurring revenue will command a significantly higher multiple than one that is primarily reactive service. Let's talk about revenue size and EBITDA. Private equity firms typically look for businesses with at least $1 million in EBITDA. That's earnings before interest, taxes, depreciation, and amortization, as a minimum threshold for a platform acquisition. Smaller businesses get acquired as add-ons to an existing platform at lower multiples. As a rough benchmark, well-run HVAC and plumbing companies are trading at somewhere between 4 and 8 times EBITDA in today's market, depending on size, geography, and revenue quality. For a business doing $500,000 in EBITDA, that's a $2 million to $4 million check. Next is geographic density. We got route density. How efficiently your technicians can run service calls in a given area. That directly affects labor costs and is something private equity operators immediately try to improve. The other thing they look at is systems and processes. If your business runs on your personal relationships and institutional knowledge in your head, private equity firms will discount it significantly. They want documented processes, software managed dispatch and scheduling, digital customer records, and a management team that can operate without the founder present. Service Titan, Household Pro, or similar platforms running your operations? That's a check in the right column. Now, let's talk about licensing, because that's another factor here. This is where it gets important for our audience specifically. Private equity platforms need licensed contractors to operate legally. When they acquire your company, your personal license is often a critical piece of the deal, which means you, in many structures, stay on post-acquisition in a role tied to your license. More on what that means in a moment. Let's talk about what sellers don't always fully think through before they sign. And the first thing is culture. That's huge in any company. The business you build runs on how you treat your people, your customers, and your community. Private equity ownership is optimized for financial performance. And that's not a criticism. I'm not here to criticize anybody, but it is just their model. After acquisition, you will almost certainly see pressure to reduce costs, increase technician productivity metrics, optimize pricing, and potentially cut staff or benefits that you consider part of who you are. Some owners are fine with that, and that's okay. Others find it genuinely difficult to watch, and that's okay as well. And the second, your ongoing role. In most PE acquisitions of trade companies, the owner doesn't immediately walk away. They usually stay on for 2 to 5 years in an operational role, often as GM or president of the acquired entity. During that period, you're an employee of a company you used to own. You report to people, you follow their processes. Your ability to make independent decisions is substantially limited. If you're the type of person who built a business because you want it to be your own boss, this transition is harder than it sounds. And third, and this is the one I most want licensed contractors to hear, it's the question of your license. In most states, a contractor's license is tied to the individual, not the business entity. When a PE firm acquires your company, they need a qualifier, a licensed individual to pull permits, supervise work, and legally operate the business. In many acquisition structures, you are that qualifier. You stay on, and it is your license which covers the company's operations, and the legal responsibility for what happens under that license remains substantially, guess what? Yours, even as decision-making authority shifts to the new ownership. This creates real exposure. If private equity ownership pushes to cut corners on compliance, skip permits on lower visibility jobs, or push technicians to work outside their scope just to hit productivity numbers, all of that happens under your license. Licensing board complaint that results, all that comes to you. Before you sign anything, you need to understand exactly how your license is being used post-close, what indemnification protections you have, and what your exit rights look like if the new owners operate in ways that put your license at risk. Get a lawyer who understands both construction and licensing before you accept a letter of intent, not after. Selling outright to private equity isn't the only option. And for a lot of owners, it's not even the best one. Let's run through what else is on the table. You have partial sale and minority recapitalization. That's where some PE firms buy a minority stake, typically 30 to 50%, allowing you to take chips off the table without giving up control. You get liquidity now, the business gets growth capital, and you retain operational authority. When the firm eventually exits, you participate in the upside again on the remaining equity. This is sometimes called a two-byte structure. So the next one is Employee Stock Ownership Plan, ESOP. That allows you to sell the business to your employees through a trust, typically over time and with favorable tax treatment. You get paid, your employees become owners with a stake in what they're building, and the culture you created has a better chance of surviving the transition. ESOPs are more complex to execute than a straight PE sale, but for owners who care about their people and their legacy, they're worth understanding. You can also sell to a strategic buyer, be another trade company, often a larger regional operator, who may be interested in acquiring your business for market share, your customer list, your crew, or your geographic footprint. Strategic buyers typically pay lower multiples than PE, but the cultural integration is often smoother because they understand the business. And you can grow into a better exit. If your EBITDA is below $1 million, you are almost certainly leaving money on the table by selling now. Private equity platforms pay meaningfully higher multiples as revenue quality and size increase. 2 to 3 years of deliberate growth, adding recurring contracts, building out management, documenting processes could significantly increase what the business is worth when you do decide to sell. Here's what I want you to take away from this. If you build a trade company worth selling, that is a genuinely significant achievement. Congratulations. The private equity interest you're getting is a signal that you've done something right, and you should take it seriously. But you should also go in with your eyes open because the valuation is real. The check can be life-changing. And the moment you sign, especially if your license is involved in how the new owners plan to operate, you have entered into an arrangement with legal implications that run well beyond the business deal itself. Your license is not a formality. It is the legal foundation of everything that business does. And in most states, including North Carolina, the responsibilities that come with it don't disappear just because ownership changed hands. If you're a licensed contractor in North Carolina, HVAC, plumbing, electrical, general contracting, and you are navigating a board complaint or have any question about what your license covers and what it doesn't, that is exactly what North State law handles. And if you found this useful, subscribe. We cover the business side of the trades every week. Drop a comment. Have you gotten that call yet? What did you do? Keep building North Carolina. See you in the next video. Thanks.